Good evening. It's the biggest killer of young people, and it's worse in the North East than anywhere in the country. Suicide is on the rise, cutting lives short and leaving a trail of devastated families and friends. But today, charities, health officials and bereaved relatives met in Newcastle to look at what can be done to turn those figures around. Here's our political editor, Richard Moss.
A hotel suite in Newcastle seems an unlikely location for a vital mission. But all these people are focused on a goal: cutting the rate of suicide among young people. And for some, it's very personal.
Dan was 19 when he took his own life.
Matthew Smith from Chester Street formed a suicide prevention charity when his 19-year-old brother Daniel took his life. But he sees it as more than just his loss.
It was a whole community, it was his friends, it was my friends. So many people felt the impact. What I hope and, kind of why we do what we do is people still feel the impact of my brother's death, but it's in a positive way. And we use what was such a tragic experience to create change for others.
And there's a big problem to tackle. Even though the incidence of suicide is still rare in the region, it seems to be much higher than in other parts of the country. More than 14 in every 100,000 people take their own lives in the North East, a higher rate than any other part of the UK and twice as high as that in London. And health officials are worried recent events are pushing figures up.
We know the pandemic had a disproportionate impact on children and young people, not necessarily from the direct impact of the virus itself, but from the indirect impact of the measures that were put in place. We've also seen an increase in self-harm, and we've also seen an increase in demand for mental health services for children and young people. And really what we need to be thinking about today is how we prevent suicides moving forward.
And today is about solutions. This gathering was organised by a Tyneside MP who's determined to make a difference.
I thought it was really important for us to have a North East perspective on this. And today I'm really pleased that people are having that discussion and talking to each other.
And one man used to talking and walking is Andy Airy. He lost his daughter, Sophie. As one of the 3 dads, he's been trying to get people to talk about suicide prevention ever since. He sees today as more progress.
When it actually arrives in your life, the world shatters. We'll always have a Sophie-shaped hole in our lives. So it's incredibly important that we do get people engaged with the idea of talking about suicide prevention, because if we can actually get people to deal with that difficult subject or to begin to talk about that really challenging subject, we'll save lives in the future.
One meeting cannot solve what's a complex problem, but there is a determination here to at least make a start on saving lives and heartache.
And Richard Moss is here with me now. So Richard, they've had this meeting. What next?
Well, this is about starting conversations. Now, some of the problems behind these figures have dogged our region for decades. So high levels of deprivation cause suicide, long-standing physical and mental health problems contribute. What many at the meeting want is more resources dedicated to tackling suicide prevention, but also those problems, but also for local organisations to have control over that funding so that North East minds are solving North East problems rather than something being imposed from London. And that was the intention of the MP Liz Twist too. This is personal for her too. She lost her own husband to suicide a number of years ago. She's part of a cross-party group of MPs holding an inquiry into young people and suicide, and what came out of this meeting will be fed into that so that the North East can be part of the solution and not just part of the problem.
OK, Richard, thanks for that. And details of organisations offering information and support with mental health and self-harm are available via the BBC Action Line.